Discover the incredible 12-year journey of an unexpected love that changed everything forever. Sarah's life was a whirlwind of long shifts, tired smiles, and the sweet, impatient laughter of her daughter, Mia. Every morning, she put on her waitress apron knowing she'd be on her feet for hours, pouring coffee for the locals of Maplewood who gave her tired waves and nods but never saw the burden she carried. Each night, she scrubbed floors after the late crowd at the diner had left, her muscles screaming but her heart devoted to the promise of a better life for Mia. She was a beacon of resilience, a single mom determined to fight for her little girl. Yet, those burdens felt heavier since her husband walked out, the void he left still echoing in the quiet moments. In the evenings, they huddled on their worn couch, tucked under a blanket, sharing takes on every issue that life threw their way, Mia's laughter shooting through their small living room as reminders of what hope meant. But the shadows of their situation loomed ever closer. The town rarely noticed their struggles. Maplewood was polite, focused on bake sales and community fundraisers while ignoring the underlying fractures of their lives. However, just as familiarity bred comfort, something new and different entered their lives one crisp evening. Jake, a local veteran with dark circles under his eyes and scars that whispered stories of battles long over, came into town. He carried himself with a mixture of strength and sorrow, instantly piquing Sarah's cautious interest. Her years of animosity towards veterans pleaded for her to turn away, to tangle her fingers in her own biases, but she couldn't deny the flickers of kindness that sprang from him when he played with kids in the park. Mia, with her knack for bringing people together, formed a friendship with Jake's spirited niece, Taylor. The summer nights turned magical as their laughter floated through the air, pushing at the walls Sarah had so carefully erected. Yet, as Jake began visiting with Mia in tow, Sarah's heart raced with anxiety. A single mother carved by hardship, she wrestled with feelings of mistrust and maternal instinct to protect her daughter from Jake's hinted complexities. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed, and one fateful afternoon in the park, amid the fading colors of autumn, Jake gave Sarah a quiet smile while he helped Mia practice her soccer skills. A warm breeze carried his husky laughter, and she saw fleeting glimpses of the boy he once was, before the uniforms and the weight of war claimed bits and pieces of his spirit. But when Mia casually revealed family troubles the kind thick with shame, Sarah felt the world beneath her feet tremble. The patterns of misunderstanding and fear began to interlace their lives tighter than ever before. As the holidays approached, a crisis erupted in Maplewood, a fire consuming a local family's home. Jake, in an act of raw bravery, charged into the chaos to help, unveiling the courage nestled deep within his haunted heart. Witnessing this act, Sarah felt something stir again, a flicker of hope amidst the madness. Could she dare to let go of fear, to embrace the truth of Jake's heart? Caught in a web of uncertainty and unkind memories, Sarah found herself standing on the edge of possibility, the question lingering like cold autumn air, whether she could unravel the complexities of her heart and let a new story begin. Would love flourish against the backdrop of their fears, or would the shadow of doubt tear them apart before they could discover the warmth of connection? The days grew darker as winter settled over Maplewood like a soft, white blanket. Sarah wrapped herself and Mia in the warmth of their little home, but the chill of uncertainty still seeped in. After the fire, the town had rallied, all hands on deck to support the family who lost everything. Brightly colored flyers adorned the diner, a sight both hopeful and heartbreaking. Sarah felt that familiar surge of community spirit, but a deep-seated fear gnawed at her. Was she ready to open her heart to someone new, especially someone like Jake? Mia seemed unaffected by her mother's worry. She laughed, her eyes sparkling as she planned a holiday party with Taylor, already inviting every neighborhood kid she could think of. Sarah loved the way Mia brought light wherever she went, her spirit unbroken, yet, her laughter was a reminder of what Sarah wished she could find. One evening, as snowflakes danced outside their window, Sarah sat with Mia sorting through holiday decorations. Mia plucked at an old ornament and held it up. "Remember this, Mom?" We made it together. Her excitement warmed the room, but Sarah's heart felt heavy. Each cherished memory bore the weight of longing. The next day, as Sarah cleaned tables at the diner, she found herself looking for Jake. He'd been coming by more often, sharing bits of his story that peeled back layers of his facade. At first, the brevity of their exchanges left her feeling uneasy. The glances they shared were charged, drawing her in and pushing her away all at once. Then came the moment she hadn't expected when he sat beside her one afternoon, out of the blue, and began speaking about the fire. His voice was patient, listening more than talking, and something shifted. People came together so quickly, Jake mused, stirring sugar into his coffee. Everyone just cared. Sarah met his gaze. Yeah, it's what we do. We're Maplewood. I think it's more than that, he said, the weight of his past evident in his eyes. What if it's a kind of love, you know? What if it's south about finding your place? The vulnerability in his voice caught her off guard, weaving an understanding that tugged gently at her walls. Her heart beat louder than it had in years. Jake had begun to stand for something deeper, a reminder that connection mattered, and that healing could begin with honesty. The holidays were closing in, and with them brought a palpable shift in the air. A week before Christmas, Sarah found herself face to face with an invitation etched in colorful letters. Holiday party at Sarah and Mia's. Mia had declared with pure joy, a short list of friends beneath her proclamation. As Mia excitedly planned, Sarah felt the stirring doubts rise alongside her hopes. According to her daughter, Jake had to come, but she hesitated. Corners of her mind raced with every reason to say no. Still, those same worries whispered words of courage deep within her. Suddenly her world spun with decisions unmade. As the clock ticked down, she found herself alone in that familiar space of confusion. Could she really open her home and heart to Jake? Should she risk it all for a chance at something beautiful, something real? The night of the party arrived, and with it came the electric buzz of expectations. Sarah stood in the doorway, scanning familiar faces while feeling the warmth of her daughter's hand in hers. When the doorbell rang, her heart raced. Would Jake step through with all his complexities, or would she let fear close the door to opportunity? With a trembling breath, she opened the door, unprepared for what awaited her on the other side. The warmth of community and the proximity of new love hung thick in the air, each second binding them tighter to a choice that could change everything forever. Would she be brave enough to embrace the unknown, or would she retreat into the fortress of her past? As Sarah opened the door, the cool air whispered past her, brushing against her skin like a soft reminder of all that she yearned for. Standing there was Jake, his hands stuffed in the pockets of his thick jacket, a slight smile playing on his lips. His presence felt both daunting and exhilarating, electric and warm. "Hey," he said, his voice a blend of surprise and hope. "Hey," she managed, her stomach doing a little flip as she stepped aside. He walked in, shaking the snow from his hair, the laughter of children bubbling around them as they spilled through the living room. Mia darted over immediately, her face brightening like the festive lights strung across the room. "Merry Christmas, Jake!" Mia exclaimed, her arms wrapping around his waist in an exuberant hug. Sarah's breath caught as she watched their connection, a genuine warmth she didn't expect to feel so deeply. "Wow, look at this place." Jake looked around, taking in the decorations Mia had draped over every available surface, her handiwork evoking the joy of the season. "You both really outdid yourselves." Sarah felt pride swell in her chest. "It's all Mia's vision. I just helped a little." As guests began to filter in, friends, neighbors, and familiar faces, the room transformed into a vibrant hub of laughter and cheer. There was something intoxicating about the blend of voices, the way her little home felt alive with energy. Sarah caught snatches of conversations and the sound of children screeching with delight as they played in the corners, and for a moment, the weight of her worries lifted. Mia ran back to Sarah, beaming. "Mom! Can Jake make cookies with us?" The sparkle in her eyes pressed against the tenderness of Sarah's heart. "Sure, why not?" Sarah said with a smile, but her mind raced as Mia pulled Jake toward the kitchen. What was happening? Did she really want to open herself up like this? As Mia set out cookie dough and sprinkles, the closeness of Jake seemed to dissolve her earlier fears. They flowered their hands, laughter spilling out like the scent of melting chocolate, sweet and oddly comforting. Jake exchanged playful banter with Mia, kneeling beside her as they rolled the dough together. "Look at you two, a perfect team," Sarah said, leaning against the counter, catching glimpses of their easy camaraderie. "Mia's the mastermind," Jake said, glancing up with a grin, and Sarah felt something shift. The tension in her chest began to ease just a little. Maybe this was what she needed, an opportunity to breathe, to be in the moment without the constant shadow of what had been lost. As the night wore on, she found herself helping serve hot cocoa, laughter bubbling over the chatter, the warmth wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. Jake moved seamlessly between conversations, sharing stories, drawing laughs from the crowd, and Sarah watched with admiration. But a little voice within whispered doubts. Was this just a temporary patch over her heart? What if she let herself feel, only to find disappointment waiting on the other side? In the back of her mind, questions flickered like holiday lights. Could she trust him? Could she trust herself again? As the night wound down and the guests began to trickle out, a sense of peace settled over Sarah. Jake lingered, helping Mia pack away dishes that felt heavy with joy. The two chatted easily, the connection palpable, and she felt a flutter of hope. When the door finally closed behind the last of their friends, Sarah turned to find Jake still there, leaning against the counter, a soft smile on his face. "You know, this was incredible," he said, his voice low and sincere. "You've built something really special here, Sarah." She searched his eyes, feeling the pull of something deeper, something she couldn't quite name. Would it be brave or foolish to take this spark and fan it into a flame? "Thank you," she replied softly, her voice tinged with the weight of uncertainty. It was a team effort. But even as those words left her mouth, she felt a shred of conviction growing within her. For the first time in a long time, she didn't want to close the door to new possibilities. "Can we talk?" Jake asked, stepping forward, his expression earnest. Sarah nodded, her heart pounding as she realized they weren't just about to talk about cookies anymore. This was about something bigger, something that could change everything forever. Would she dare to take the leap? Would she let herself embrace the unknown that lay ahead? The air between them crackled. Sarah felt it, a curious blend of fear and anticipation. She leaned back against the counter, arms crossed, a habit she had cultivated to shield herself, but today felt different. Today, it wrapped around her like a warm breeze rather than a barrier. "Sure, let's talk," she replied, her voice steady even as her heart raced. The kitchen was quiet now, the laughter from the party had faded into the background, leaving a cocoon of intimacy around them. The glow of Christmas lights provided a soft halo, illuminating the fine lines of worry etched on her forehead. Jake ran a hand through his hair, taking a deep breath. "I've been thinking about us. About why I came over tonight." His voice was lowered, serious, and the way he looked at her made her heart squeeze. "It's more than just cookies and holiday cheer for me, Sarah. I care about you. About Mia." His words struck her like a secret melody, stirring feelings she thought had faded. "Jake, it's been so long since I allowed myself don't think about the past," he interrupted gently. "Think about right now. About the possibility of what could be. I've seen how incredible you are, how you light up a room. That's not something I can overlook." Sarah's breath caught in her throat. She thought back to the moments of laughter and joy tonight. Moments where her burdens had felt lighter, almost non-existent. The thought wrapped around her heart like a nurturing embrace. "Can I trust you, Jake?" Her voice wavered slightly, vulnerability seeping through. "Can I trust this feeling?" The silence stretched, and for a fleeting moment, she doubted herself. What if this was just a fantasy, a moment that would crumble like fragile cookie dough? "Trust takes time. I won't rush you. But if you let me, I want to show you that this could be real," Jake replied, stepping a bit closer, his gaze earnest. There was a warmth there that wrapped itself around her heart, igniting hope like the soft glow of the lights around them. Sarah felt the pull of something familiar yet frightening. Each heartbeat echoed a scent of possibility. Could she? Could she really allow herself to step forward? I'm scared, Jake. I've been hurt. It's hard to know what's real anymore, she admitted, her voice trembling. I understand, he nodded slowly. But you're not alone. You have Mia. You have me. Sarah's heart swelled at his words. For the first time in so long, she didn't feel like she had to carry the weight of her past all by herself. He was offering her a lifeline, a path towards something that had felt lost. What if, she hesitated, testing the waters of her heart. What if it's too soon? Jake smiled, a gentle reassurance. What if it's perfect timing? She couldn't help but smile back. A softness enveloped them as they shared a moment of unspoken understanding. It was as if they could see the edges of a new future forming in that very instant. Her heart beat faster, fueled by the budding connection she yearned for. Let's take it slow then, she suggested finally, her eyes holding a flicker of hope. One step at a time. Absolutely, he agreed, his expression lighting up. One step at a time. As they leaned closer, caught in the moment, Mia entered the kitchen, her little voice filling the space. Hey, are we going to enjoy those cookies or are we just going to stand around being mushy? Sarah couldn't help but laugh, the tension in the room diffusing instantly. They turned to Mia, who beamed at them. The joy that flickered in her daughter's eyes reminded Sarah of the warmth community brought, and the commotion echoed through her heart. Let us eat them. Jake exclaimed, and in a moment, they were lost in the childish excitement of sprinkles and frosting again, but as the sweetness enveloped them, Sarah felt something shift within. She realized this was just the beginning. The real journey was ahead, full of unknowns and possibility. What would it take to truly open her heart? She glanced again at Jake, and although uncertainty still lingered, it felt intertwined with a new warmth. Let us see where this goes, she thought, as her mind flitted back to the questions of trust and vulnerability. Just then, as laughter filled the kitchen, her heart whispered a truth. Sometimes the greatest leaps are those that begin with the tiniest steps. And outside, snow began to fall again, a blanket of white, perfect for painting new beginnings. But as Jake looked at her again, his expression softening, she couldn't shake the feeling. What if what lay ahead was a path riddled with challenges they had yet to face together? What if trust didn't come easily? In that moment, the ensuing silence of that thought hung heavy in the air, ripe with possibility. The kitchen became a whirlwind of activity as Mia eagerly jumped between the counter and the table, her little hands covered in flour and frosting. Jake and Sarah shared a glance, the laughter of Mia splitting the air like sweet music. In that crowded moment, Sarah let the worry fade, instead focusing on the joy radiating from her daughter. Do you think we can make snowmen out of cookies? Mia asked, her eyes wide with enthusiasm. Absolutely. We'll need to stack them just right, Jake replied, diving into the fun with a grin. His easy banter made Sarah's heart flutter again. She watched him mold the cookie dough, his hands steady and confident. As they all settled into an assembly line of frosting and sprinkles, Sarah's heart twisted with gratitude. She hadn't realized how much she needed this, the laughter, the camaraderie. Moments later, with frosting smudged across her nose, Mia handed a cookie to Jake. Here. You make the best snowman. She giggled, and Sarah's heart warmed at the sight. Jake accepted the cookie with mock seriousness, raising an eyebrow. This will be the fluffiest snowman in the whole town. The playful banter made Sarah's chest swell with emotion, but beneath the laughter, a soft voice inside her whispered that this wasn't just about cookies. This felt like stitching the fragments of her heart together one layer at a time. As they sat around the table, giggles and frosting flying everywhere, Sarah glanced at Jake. He was creating something more than just a treat, he was nurturing a hope that flickered amid the chaos of their worlds. Later, once Mia was tucked snugly into bed, Sarah wandered back to the kitchen to clean up. She found Jake still there, wiping the last of the sprinkles off the table. He turned and caught her eye, his expression shifting from playful to sincere. I really enjoyed tonight, he said, his voice soft and low. It felt right. Yeah, it did, Sarah replied, leaning against the counter. Doubt crept in again as she thought of the road ahead. But what happens now? What if the sweetness fades once the holiday is over? Jake's gaze was steady, unwavering. We cherish these moments. They're just the beginning, remember? His eyes sparkled with a mix of mischief and warmth, making Sarah's heart race. She recalled the hurdles she had faced since Mia's father had left a torrent of fear and uncertainty. The idea of leaning into a new relationship felt frightening, but Jake was there, holding out his hand. Can you hold that thought for me? She asked, the vulnerability washing over her again. Always, he promised, stepping closer. They stood there in shared silence, and Sarah's heart danced between apprehension and hope. For a moment, everything else faded. It was just the two of them, tangled in the unspoken understanding that lay between them like flickering fairy lights. But just as the warmth threatened to swallow her whole, a thought blazed through her mind. What if all of this was too good to be true? She wasn't ready to break her heart again. Sarah? Jake's voice pulled her back, tinged with an edge of concern. What is going on in that beautiful mind of yours? She hesitated, caught between the urge to share her fears and the desire to protect her heart. What if I don't know how to trust again? The admission hung heavy in the air. I know it's tough, he replied gently. But I'm not going anywhere. If you'll let me, we'll take this journey together. The sincerity in his voice ignited a spark of hope. She nodded, not trusting her voice. But suddenly, the door creaked open, and Mia's sleepy head peeked in. Mommy, can I have a snowman before bed? Laughter bubbled up again as Sarah exchanged glances with Jake. How could they resist such a request? As they joined Mia, Sarah felt a rush of emotions pouring through her. The journey ahead was still uncertain, yet standing there together filled her with a type of strength she had thought was lost. Maybe this really was the start of something sweet, but as they crafted the perfect snowman cookie, a new, subtle worry flickered in the back of Sarah's mind. Would the warmth of this moment last when the world outside felt so cold? Would she find ways to navigate the challenges ahead? With those questions lingering, the joyful sounds in the kitchen wrapped around her like a fragile promise. The trust she had feared to embrace felt closer yet still out of reach. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the ground in a shimmering blanket that sparkled with promise. What would it take to fully let go and step into the light? The next morning, sunlight filtered through the frosted windows, casting a warm glow across the kitchen. Sarah busied herself brewing coffee, wrapping her hands around the mug as she let the steam rise to her face. The sweet remnants of last night lingered: the laughter, the cookies, the sense of unity. Yet, a lingering uncertainty danced at the edges of her thoughts like shadows that refused to fade. Mia entered, hair tousled and eyes half closed. Can we make more cookies today? She asked, her voice still heavy with sleep. Of course, sweetheart, Sarah replied, ruffling her hair. A small smile played on her lips. There was something about the family spirit growing between them, filling their home with joy. As Mia sat at the table, drawing with crayons, Jake arrived, a box of fresh pastries in hand. Thought I'd bring you all some sugar to start the day. He chimed, his smile infectious. Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. So simple, yet so profound. It was amazing how little moments like these could make her heart swell. Mia bounced from her seat, surveying the box like it held the secrets to happiness. Can I have that one? She pointed to a chocolate-filled delight. Sure. Jake, how good are you with well-behaved pastries? Sarah teased as she leaned against the counter. Jake feigned shock, placing a hand over his heart. I swear, they were all so well-behaved until I got here. Snatching a pastry from the box, he took a big bite. Okay, maybe not so well-behaved. Laughter erupted, filling the kitchen as Mia giggled along, but just as they settled into the comfort of the morning, Sarah's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. She hesitated, glancing at the screen, the familiar name sending a shiver through her. It was an old acquaintance from her past, someone she thought she'd left behind long ago. Everything okay? Jake asked, concern etched in his brow. Yeah. Just a message. Sarah's voice was small, facing the internal turmoil. She didn't want to pull the veil of happiness down, but the notion of the past returning sent waves of anxiety through her. Should she reply? Was it worth the trouble? Do you want to talk about it? Jake's tone was gentle, encouraging. He took a step closer, an unspoken promise that he would be there, no matter the weight of her worries. No, it's fine. Just someone from work, she managed to say, forcing a smile even as her heart raced. Mia, oblivious to the tension, piped up, "Can we make blue cookies for Santa today, too?" "Sounds perfect." Jake responded, and Sarah marveled at the easy way he slipped back into lightness. They spent the next hour creating cookies, the air filled with flour, chocolate chips, and laughter. But every time Sarah glanced at her phone, waiting for a sign to drop the tension, the smile felt a little less genuine. As evening approached, the snow outside began to swirl again, and a soft glow leaked in through the window. They settled down in the living room, the aroma of fresh cookies mingling with the scent of pine from their little Christmas tree. "Do you think Santa will like them?" Mia asked, eyes shining bright. "Absolutely," Jake replied, his sincerity bringing warmth to the moment, but under the surface, Sarah's heart was heavy, the message still lodged in her mind, pressing as hard as any lingering fear. She realized that even amongst the joy, her past was stubborn, weighing her down. Fear clawed at her. Could she trust her new reality? Could she fully embrace what was blossoming between her and Jake? Just as she began to lose herself in thought again, the doorbell rang, jolting her from the spiral. What was that? An unexpected visitor? Mia leaped up. "I'll get it." "Wait." Sarah called, her heart racing. She wasn't ready to face whatever or whoever awaited them outside. Glimpses of Jake's concerned face mirrored her own anxiety, their unspoken connection tightening with every moment. What if it was someone she didn't want to see? Would it crash the fragile happiness they had built together? As Mia swung the door open, Sarah braced herself. The world outside felt far too cold compared to the warmth inside. The knock that could alter everything echoed in her ears. Who stood on the other side, and how would it change the course of this makeshift family they had come to cherish so deeply? Sarah's breath caught as the door swung open, exposing a winter landscape that felt far too stark against the warmth of their home. Timidly, she dared a glance over Mia's shoulder. "Wow!" Mia exclaimed. There, bundled in a long coat and scarf, stood a woman in her 40s, snowflakes decorating her auburn hair. The surprise on her face was unmistakable, eyes wide with a mix of joy and disbelief. "Amara?" Sarah whispered, recognition dawning. It was the name that sent a jolt through her. Years had slipped by, yet here was the sister she thought she'd lost forever. "Sarah." Amara's voice trembled, emotions spilling out. The pain of separation washed over them both as they stood frozen, the past rushing back. Mia tugged at Sarah's sleeve, confused. "Mom, do you know her?" Yes. "Yes, I do," Sarah managed, stepping forward as Amara stepped inside, shaking off the chill. An awkward stillness blanketed the room. Jake, watching the reunion unfold with concern, stepped closer. He could sense the tremors of history rippling just beneath the surface. "Hey, I'm Jake," he offered, extending a hand to Amara, breaking through the tension. "Oh, hi. I've heard a lot about you," she said, her voice lightening slightly as she grinned at Mia, who was utterly fascinated. "Are you friends with my mom?" Mia chirped, eyes sparkling with wonder at the unexpected twist in their cozy evening. "Something like that," Amara replied, her laughter nervous. She looked back at Sarah, discomfort mingling with affection. "I didn't expect to find you like this, with a little one. You've built a beautiful life here." That simple acknowledgement twisted Sarah's stomach. Happy memories intertwined with guilt. For years she'd felt haunted by the decisions that had torn them apart. The silence, the misunderstandings, it had all festered until it became easier to forget. Or so she thought. "Amara, Sarah began, but the weight of unspoken words flooded the air. Instead, she swallowed hard, unsure of how to bridge the gaps. "What brought you here?" Amara took a deep breath. I wanted to reach out, but I lost the nerve. Then, I found out about your bakery-s event. I thought maybe it was time. Sarah's heart raced, hope battling fear. Could they start again? Could they peel back the layers of hurt that had built a wall between them? Mia, sensing the exchange was deeper than stories about cookies, interjected softly, can we still make cookies together? I want to make more for Santa. Her innocence was a balm for the moment, a reminder of the joy that had once been overshadowed. Jake caught Sarah's eye, a hint of encouragement behind his warm gaze. They both felt it, the pull of family, the opportunity to weave their lives back together, however fragile it seemed. Yeah, we can, Sarah said finally, voice steadier. It's a great idea, Mia. But as anxiety danced in her chest, the thought of unfinished conversations loomed over her. The cookie-making progressed, flour dusting Amara's shoulders as they mixed ingredients and shared hesitant laughter. But the truth loomed like a dark shadow. Sarah still felt those walls, unsure of how they'd navigate this resurgence of the past. With every turning of the mixer and sprinkle of chocolate chips, tension simmered beneath the smiles. Unspoken questions were pressing down heavily. The door had swung open, and with it, memories flooded back. Would they all be strong enough to face the truths entwined in their hearts, as they finally sat down to decorate? The cheerful chaos of sprinkles and icing temporarily masked the unease. But the question remained, could this be the start of a new chapter, or would it unravel the fragile connections Sarah had fought to build? A sudden thought hit Sarah as she glanced at Mia, carefully dripping icing onto a cookie. Can we truly change our stories, or are certain chapters meant to haunt us forever? Before she could ponder it further, the doorbell rang again, another unexpected knock sending a chill down her spine. Who could it be this time? What more was about to unravel? The atmosphere shifted as the doorbell rang again, pulling at the edges of Sarah's already frayed nerves. She felt a rush of adrenaline. Who on earth could that be? She muttered, glancing at Jake, whose brow had furrowed with concern. Want me to get it? He offered, but Sarah shook her head. An unspoken urgency pushed her forward. With each step toward the door, her heart thudded like a drum. Mia, still busy with her cookie masterpieces, didn't seem to notice the storm brewing. Stay here, sweetie, Sarah called back to her, grasping the doorknob. She hesitated, an inexplicable fear prickling at her spine. Taking a deep breath, she swung the door open. There, bundled against the cold, stood a man she hadn't seen in over a decade. His familiar features were worn but still carried an echo of the boy she once loved. Danny? She barely breathed his name, a rush of recognition flooding back, accompanied by a twist of emotions she thought she'd buried. What are you doing here? Sarah, I needed to talk to you. His voice trembled slightly. I know it's been a long time. He stepped closer, and his presence sent a pang through her heart. It hadn't just been time they had shared secrets and dreams, whispers that had sealed their childhood bond before life pulled them in different directions. But now, he stood before her, and the memories flooded back with vivid intensity, each one marked by what could have been. Behind her, she could hear Amara's hesitant footsteps approaching. Sarah? She called, eyes darting between parent and visitor. Amara, this is Danny, my ex-boyfriend, Danny interjected, voice firm but soft. It's been years. Time seemed to stand still, the air heavy with unsaid things. Sarah's mind raced. What was Danny doing here, and what could he possibly want after all this time? I really wanted to apologize, he continued, like he was reading her thoughts. For everything. I should have fought harder. I should have told you I never stopped caring. A mix of guilt and longing whirled inside her. She glanced at Amara, whose expression mirrored her own confusion and surprise, and then at Mia, who had momentarily paused her decorating, her curiosity piqued. This was not how she had envisioned her family's evening. Danny, it's complicated, Sarah said, her voice strained. He nodded, a shadow crossing his face. I get that. I didn't come here to stir things up. I thought you should know how I feel. A heavy silence fell over the room, thick with emotions. Mia, oblivious to the tension, broke the spell with a cheerful shout. "Can I use blue icing now?" Her small voice was a reminder of innocence and happiness amidst the turmoil. Danny smirked, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly at Mia's enthusiasm. "That looks amazing. You're a great decorator," he said, kneeling to her level. Something melted inside Sarah's guarded heart. The sight of Danny speaking to Mia ignited memories of joy, summers spent laughing together. Yet she couldn't forget the hurt, the bitterness that had long marked their parting. "Amara," she said suddenly, finding an anchor in her sister's presence. "Why don't you come over here? I think we should all talk." As Amara stepped forward, edges of her own past with Danny didn't escape Sarah. The awkwardness, the history. They were all entangled now, and Sarah had to wonder if piecing everything back together would mend or break them further. Mia started drizzling blue icing on her newest creation, oblivious to the rising tension around her. Sarah felt the weight of years wrap around them, unyielding. The door had swung open to the past, but could it also lead to something new? As Sarah locked eyes with Danny, uncertainty clung to each heartbeat. Could they find a way through this chaos, or would embracing the past only bring more heartache? The door had opened, but was it a gateway to healing or another chapter of pain? The tension in the air was palpable, a living thing that wrapped around them like a heavy blanket. Danny shifted his weight, glancing from Sarah to Amara, then back to the little girl diligently icing her cookies. "Mia, how about we let the grown-ups talk for a moment?" Sarah suggested, trying to sound calm, though her heart raced. "Okay." Mia beamed, nothing but sweetness in her innocence. She set her piping bag down, her blue icing splattering slightly on the table. "I'll keep decorating my cookies." With a light-hearted skip, she sauntered to the living room, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing just beyond the kitchen door. As the door clicked shut behind Mia, the atmosphere shifted again. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of vulnerability. She turned to Danny, who stood there, a mix of hope and apprehension etched across his features. "Why now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Years of silence hung heavily between them, moments lost that could never be reclaimed. "Why after all this time?" I had to come," he replied, his eyes earnest. "I didn't just want to apologize. I needed to see if there was any part of us left after everything that has happened. If you could forgive me." Forgiveness. That single word hung in the air, a delicate thread woven with threads of pain and hurt. "I don't know if I can," Sarah replied, her heart churning. She remembered the nights spent crying over what could have been, the dreams they had painted together now faded into distant memories. Amara stepped forward, her gaze darting between them. "What do you mean? Why did it end in the first place?" Danny sighed, his shoulders dropping. "I left suddenly for school. I thought it was for the best. I didn't want to hold Sarah back. But instead, I held on to regret." He ran a hand through his hair, the weight of his admissions thick in the air. "Watching her move on hurt more than I expected." Sarah's throat tightened. A wave of old pain crashed over her, but alongside it, there was a flicker of understanding. Maybe they had both been kids trying to navigate a world far larger than their hearts could handle. "Sometimes the choices we make seem wise in the moment, but they carry consequences," she murmured, her own reflection echoing what she had felt for so long. "But that doesn't erase the hurt." "Yeah," Danny said, his voice a soft weight. "And I've spent years trying to reconcile that. It feels like I'm standing in front of a door I thought would be locked forever." Amara's eyes glimmered with curiosity. "Can you two just be friends again? That could be good, right?" "I want to believe that," Sarah replied, her chest tightening. "But it's not that easy." Mia's laughter bubbled up from the other room, momentarily distracting them from the weight of the conversation. For a single heartbeat, Sarah thought about what it would be like if they could start fresh, if they could transform this unforeseen encounter into something new. "Look, let us just take small steps," Danny proposed. "I don't want to disrupt your life, but perhaps we can be part of each other's lives again, slowly." Sarah met his gaze, both hopeful and terrified. The fragments of her past shimmered in front of her, and a part of her wanted to reach out and grasp them. But another part cautioned her, guarding her heart was second nature now. "I'll think about it," she finally said, the truth of her feelings hanging between them. "But I need to put Mia and my family first." "Of course," he said softly. "No matter what, I just wanted you to know that I still care." As silence fell once again, weighing heavily with uncertainty, Sarah felt the air shift. She could almost hear the faint echoes of love and loss, like the rustling of fallen leaves. They were at an intersection, and the way ahead wasn't yet clear. What pathways would emerge from this unexpected reunion? Would old wounds heal or fester deeper? Feeling the weight of the moment, Sarah exhaled slowly. She needed to keep her heart open but cautious. And as she stood there with Danny and Amara, she couldn't shake the thought, what if this was the catalyst for something profound? Whatever happened next was bound to change everything. Would it be a step toward healing, or would it push them further apart? The room felt charged, caught between the past and the present. Danny's presence was a spark, igniting emotions Sarah thought she had buried. Yet, her heart, once so strong, felt battered under the weight of old wounds and new beginnings. "I know this is unexpected," she began again, her eyes holding his. "But the past isn't something you just walk back into." Danny nodded, an understanding flicker crossing his features. "I get that. But I also understand what I lost, Sarah. That doesn't just vanish." Amara, sensing the tension, stepped in gently. "Maybe this is a chance for all of us to start over. We've all changed." Structurally shaken yet hopeful, Sarah's thoughts flickered to Mia. Could she really let someone back into her life, someone who once walked away? "Mia deserves stability," she muttered, pain stabbing at her heart. "And so do you," Danny replied softly. "You deserve to be happy." As if summoned by the weight of those words, the kitchen door swung open. Mia entered, hands still sticky with frosting and enthusiasm radiating from her. "Look, Mom. I made the best snowman cookie." "Wow!" Sarah exclaimed, smiling despite the undertow of anxiety pulling at her. Mia bounced into Amara's arms, unaware of the emotional currents swirling around. "Can we have a cookie party? Just us?" "Of course, sweetie," Sarah replied, her heart swelling at the sight. She suddenly realized how much Mia had changed her. How every joy was amplified under the light of her daughter's innocence. "Let us grab a plate," Mia chirped, darting toward the kitchen counter. She beamed, happiness spilling like the sprinkles she had liberally applied during their earlier baking session. In that moment of pure joy, past fears seemed muted. Sarah's heart trembled. Perhaps they could move forward as a family, if they chose to. Seeing Mia's laughter, Danny drew closer to Sarah. "I really didn't mean to stir the pot. I just needed you to know I care. Maybe we can learn to trust each other again." Their eyes locked in mutual vulnerability. "It's a big step," Sarah whispered. Danny nodded in agreement, his tone earnest. "But every step counts, right?" Amara joined them, slipping an arm around Sarah. "You've built a beautiful life here. Don't shy away from the possibility of expanding it." Sarah felt the warmth of their support wrap around her. It lifted her heart, rekindling the hope she felt in Jake's presence. After the chaotic swirl of emotions, she finally let a smidge of trust seep in. "All right," she said, voice firm yet softened by the warmth rising in her chest. "We can start over. But real emotions come with real risks." The air brightened, lighter than it had been moments before. A shared glimmer of understanding swept through the room. They could acknowledge their fears while also embracing the sweetness of newfound connections. "Cookies first, and then we can figure out everything else," Jake suggested, stepping into the newfound warmth, holding a plate of their creations. Mia's face lit up with inspiration. "Let us decorate more and make them super special." Time lost its rigid grip. They all shared in the laughter and chaos as the cookie decorations began anew, frosting flying, sprinkles cascading. With new icing colors and sprinkled laughter, they crafted new memories. And in the heart of each shared smile, possibilities began blossoming anew, knitting them together. As the night relaxed into twilight, Sarah found herself leaning against the kitchen counter, watching her daughter and the two people who had become anchors in her chaotic world. Families weren't always perfect, they were shaped through love, loss, and, above all, forgiveness. Though there would be challenges ahead, she could now see light peeking through. "We'll take it slow," she whispered to herself, echoing Jake's earlier words. "One step at a time." Her heart fluttered as they gathered around the table, laughter spinning, stories that swirled in the air like the cookies spiraling in motion. Each moment unfurled with the potential for love, real love, built upon shared histories and the magic of healing, with a cup of warm cocoa in hand and frost-kissed windows framing a tranquil winter night. She knew one thing for sure: the road ahead would be worth the risk. Together, they'd step into it hand in hand, seeking the sweetness of connection while facing the shadows of their past. This was their moment. Don't wait not even one more second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire and transform you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us share these heartfelt journeys with more people. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to be a part of this community. Your support means everything.